the fact that people have the right to peacefully protest and that they're a city of immigrants. Well, they're not a city of immigrants. They're a city of criminals. And we're going to use the authority that he has as president of the United States to conduct these operations. And the more that people conduct violence against law enforcement officers, boy, we're going to hit them back. And we're going to hit them back harder than we ever have before.
That was Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem, better known colloquially as Ice Barbie, on Fox News' Sean Hannity's show just last night, making a chilling and ominous threat that actually, in this breaking story, turned out not to be an idle threat. Because the San Francisco Chronicle obtained and leaked a bombshell letter from Ice Barbie to Pete Hegseth, where she told him to give a very disturbing order to the troops in LA, troops that have been mobilized by Donald Trump. Over 700 Marines are now stationed there.
The United States Marines versus the Postmates guy who brought you an egg sandwich.
Here, in this very disturbing footage, you can see a U.S. Marine Corps AH-1Z attack helicopter that was spotted flying over downtown Los Angeles just yesterday. This is insane, especially considering that there are Marine veterans on the ground of these mainly peaceful protests that are pushing back and fighting against
Arrow,
this.
you were saying you were a U.S. Marine?
I'm a Marine, proud to serve, baby.
How long did you serve?
2005.
What do you have to say about President Trump sending National Guard?
Right, bro.
And this situation is so chilling and ridiculous, not only because of what she is ordering the troops to do, but how they are going about it and what it portends in this fascist escalation. So according to the leaked letter, Noem asked Pete Hegseth on Sunday to have the Pentagon give, quote, direction to Department of Defense forces to either detain, just as they would at any federal facility guarded by military, lawbreakers under the Title 18 until they can be arrested and processed by federal law enforcement. Now, I don't know if you know this about our military, but that's not their job. You see, the military is generally barred under federal laws from taking part in domestic law enforcement, meaning that granting Noem's request would likely require the administration to sidestep those laws, which we've already seen they are willing to do, by invoking the Insurrection Act, something Donald Trump has already said he would do, according to two legal experts. But that's not even the worst of it, folks. Noem also asked Hegseth for drone surveillance support in her letter, as well as weapons and logistics assistance in Los Angeles. State Senator Scott Wiener said Noem's request for military arrest was ominous and out of proportion in a country where intense protests have happened throughout history, saying this isn't what happens in a democracy, this is what happens in a dictatorship. We have a time-honored tradition in the United States that the military does not enforce civilian law, or at least we did. And of course, the other thing that happens in fascist dictatorships is lying and gaslighting to the press. On Tuesday, after the publication of this story, a Homeland Security spokesperson confirmed that Noem had made the request to Hegseth. I'm not going to read their propaganda response, but it's basically calling out, saying people are defacing public property, the military needs to be on the ground. However, 40 minutes later, the agency asked the Chronicle to disregard the first statement from McLaughlin in favor of a new one, saying this letter was sent days ago prior to the Secretary of Homeland Security and Secretary of Defense meeting with the president. This is a whole-of-government approach to restore law and order. We are grateful to our military members and law enforcement who have acted with patriotism in the face of assault, taunts, and violence. And here's the best part, folks. Noem wrote that as their brave troops defend against invasive, violent, insurrectionist mobs that seek to protect invaders and military-aged males belonging to identified foreign terrorist organizations and who seek to prevent the deportation of criminal aliens. It's not clear what Noem meant by her reference to terrorist organizations, but what is clear is this is a grave escalation, and an ironic one at that.
It's going to require a deft and firm, experienced and wise, I think you know where I'm going with this, a deft touch from leadership in Washington.
Well, we're going to have troops everywhere. We're not going to let this happen to our country. They spit. That's their new thing. And when that happens, I have a little statement. They say, they spit, we hit.
Well done, Mr. Churchill. When they spit, we hit. Now, obviously, this is a bit of a change in attitude from Trump towards protecting law enforcement from his previous January 6th attitude of, they hit, we don't give a shit.
I'm happy he deployed National Guard.
Well, speaking of 2020, there was a comment that the president made then about whether or not he could deploy and activate the National Guard. I want you to listen to what he said then.
We have laws. We have to go by the laws. We can't move in the National Guard. I can call insurrection, but there's no reason to ever do that. Even in a Portland case, we can't call in the National Guard unless we're requested by a governor.
The law, of course, has not changed since then. So what has?
I'm not an attorney, and all I know is I'm on calls every day with the heads of DOD and DOJ. So we got legal minds in DOJ and DOD, and DOJ are making these decisions. So I certainly think the president's acting within the confines of the law. I mean, I'm on phone calls every day, and these lawyers are making these decisions, so I stand by it.